So to continue graphing this tangent function, we need to figure out values in between these intervals where it's equal to 0 and where it's undefined, these vertical asymptotes here. And we can start by looking at values right in the middle. We can look at a value of pi over 4 or minus pi over 4 here. And let me construct another table so that we can continue looking at these angles here. And again, we're looking at values of theta and values of the tangent function. Let me use that green color. Y is equal to the tangent of the angle. And we'll start by looking at pi over 4 and minus pi over 4. And remember that pi over 4 radians is simply a 45-degree angle, meaning this is a negative 45-degree angle. And with a 45-degree angle, we can construct a special right triangle where, since this angle here is 45 degrees and this is 90, this would also be 45 degrees, and we know the hypotenuse is 1. And using the Pythagorean theorem, we can determine that each of these side lengths are the square root of 2 over 2. So when we take the tangent of 45 degrees, we're looking at the opposite divided by the adjacent sides, and we have something divided by itself, so this is equal to 1. So at pi over 4, we get 1, and at minus pi over 4, that would just construct this right triangle down here at about that point. The values for the triangle would be the same, but the y value will be in the opposite direction, meaning this would be negative. So the opposite side is negative, but since we're still dividing something by itself, we would get 1 comparing the lengths here, but it would be the opposite of 1 since this y value is negative. And the tangent of minus pi over 4 or minus 45 degrees would be negative 1. And we can continue this pattern. We can look at 3 pi over 4 and minus 3 pi over 4. At 3 pi over 4, we construct this triangle right here, which would have the same lengths. These would each be root 2 over 2, but now the x value is negative. And comparing the opposite to the adjacent, we would get negative 1, since one of those is negative. But when we're down here at minus 3 pi over 4, or alternatively, we could count it positively and go to 5 pi over 4, this triangle would have the x value and the y value negative. So when we take the ratio, we would get minus root 2 over 2 divided by minus root 2 over 2, and that would result in positive 1. So let's fill in these values here. At pi over 4, we have 1. At minus pi over 4, we're at negative 1. And we can also put in 3 pi over 4, which would be right here. This would be at negative 1. And if we did 5 pi over 4, counting this way, we know that's the same thing as minus 3 pi over 4. That would be at positive 1. And on the negative side, this minus 3 pi over 4, which would be right here, this would be at positive 1. If we look at minus 5 pi over 4, that would bring us to here, which is the same angle as 3 pi over 4. So they have the same value, and 3 pi over 4 was negative 1. So minus 5 pi over 4 would also be at negative 1. And you can see this pattern. If we construct them with a straight line, it would repeat like that, but it's not going to be linear, especially because we have these asymptotes. And when you have asymptotes, the function will curve up against them.